Hey guys, my name's Dan Ballard. I'm a pro landscape and commercial photographer. Just want to talk to you guys a little bit today about the A7R4 versus the A7R5. I also want to talk a little bit today about why I still think the A7R5 is going to be the camera of choice for landscape photographers over the A7V. The Sony A7V is due to be released here really soon at the time of release of this video, but we do have all the specs. So I'm kind of basing it just purely off of that. So first of all, the A7R4 versus the A7R5. Why should you absolutely get the 5? Especially now, the price has dropped quite a bit. This was maybe a tougher question before, but I think with the price drop, if you can possibly swing it, I know that's not always possible, but if you can possibly swing it, I absolutely say go for the Sony A7R5. And there's a few major reasons. The first one, and I think this is absolutely huge, is simply the screen. I know people talk about that a lot. I know it's kind of a known thing at this point, but I just can't stress enough how huge that is and how much of an absolute game changer it is. The main reason is, as a landscape photographer, so much of what we're doing is really low and vertical type images. So there's all sorts of situations where we're out in the field and we need to, basically put the foreground all the way through the background in our image, and going vertical so many times is the best way to do that. And having that screen where it flips vertical very easily is absolutely, just a game changer. Again, I can't say that enough times. So that one thing alone, if that was the only difference, I would still say that was worth every single penny extra. It's absolutely critical. Now, the next thing, and this kind of goes hand in hand a little bit with the screen idea, is focus stacking. So often when we're in that same situation, we're down super low, we're really, really close to our subject, we really need to focus stack. And of course, we could do that the old-fashioned way. We could do it manually. We could take individual shots and put them together. But with automatic focus stacking built into the camera, we can literally just, put our focus point to the closest point, hit the shutter button, start the sequence, and it'll take all the images that we need based on the focal length, based on the aperture that we chose, based on the subject distance from us. So it makes something that's really tricky something that's actually really pretty easy. So now we have this ability to get down really low and actually see what we're doing because our screen, articulates vertically, and we can focus stack and take that shot focus stacking really easily as well. The A7R4 doesn't have built-in focus stacking, and it doesn't have this vertically articulating screen. So just those two things alone, that's already getting to be really, really big. But now we get into where I really start to think that the A7R5 is so worth it. Because so often what I'm doing these days, especially whenever I'm focus stacking, if I can possibly do it, I'm also hand holding all the time. So I love to hand hold whenever I'm focus stacking. It's so much better. There's all sorts of reasons that I still use a tripod. A tripod is king and mandatory in a lot of circumstances when you have something moving. But in so many situations, honestly, I really prefer to just hand hold. The quality is there these days. We have great ISO, high ISO performance. So we can really do a lot of hand holding, and with this flip screen and with this built-in focus stacking, that allows us to walk up and just kind of like lean over and just get this really great high quality. We're not making sacrifices here hardly at all in a lot of circumstances, where we're getting this really high quality image very, very easily. And that allows us to create so much more. And that's another really big pro for the A7R5. It has better in-body image stabilization, something like 5 stops versus 8 stops. So we have a lot better image stabilization. So whether that's working with your lens that maybe has image stabilization, or maybe that's allowing you to use a lens that doesn't have image stabilization, either way, it's really going to help you when you're hand holding, which again, I'm doing all the time these days. So that's really something that's better. Not to mention the focus itself. So with the A7R4, it focuses really well. It doesn't do a bad job at all. But so many times whenever I'm out, again, in low light, doing landscape photography, getting low to, whatever I'm trying to accomplish, the number of times with the A7R4 that I would have focus issues was fairly common. Again, it's really dark. Maybe you're at white sands and, it's before the sun is coming up and you're trying to focus on the sand. And a lot of times with the A7R4, I would really struggle to lock focus. It would be sort of an issue or something that was challenging. With the A7R5, with the AI stuff built in and just better focusing in general, I pretty much never have trouble locking focus. I mean, it's amazing how much better it locks focus. So in the landscape world, in a focus stacking world, in a being able to get low and close and get different angles, I mean, the A7R5 is just absolutely so much better. The other thing that actually is so much better too is if you're using the A7R5 kind of as an all-around camera, that's where again this new autofocus is just absolutely worlds better. I do a ton of Western photography. I do a lot of commercial photography where I'm doing automotive stuff, a lot of different things where I'm really needing the autofocus to work really well, and I'm really needing that speed, all around. Now, of course, the A7R5 isn't the best camera out there for high speed. We're talking, 10 frames per second with, with JPEGs or compressed RAW, 7 frames per second with uncompressed RAW. So it's not all that fast, but because the autofocus is so good, if you're at 7, 10 frames per second, that's still really reasonable, and you can still really do a great job with more of the high speed type stuff. So it really is versatile, especially if you're like me, maybe you're using it in a two body situation. I use it alongside my A1 and it just works great with the high resolution with the A7R5 and then the high speed of the A1 So that's where, again, pretty much just absolutely hands down, if you can possibly swing it, go for the A7R5. I understand budgets, all that kind of stuff. The A7R4 is still an incredible camera. You can get amazing photos with it. The resolution, the sensor is really similar. So you can absolutely do a great job. I shot with the A7R4 for years and years. It's really, really good. But man, some of those usability things are just absolutely key whenever it comes to the A7R5, and it's very worth the upgrade. Okay, so now let's talk just a little bit about the new A7V that's, again, coming up here pretty soon. That camera is going to really bridge the gap here. So many of these usability things are also going to be in the A7V now. So we're going to have a camera that's got the tilt screen, so you don't have an advantage there with the A7R5. We're also going to have the really good focus. We're most likely going to have the in-body stabilization that's just as good, if not exactly the same. So a lot of the things, of course, focus stacking will be built in as well. So a lot of those key things that I really, love about the A7R5 are also going to be there on the A7V. So it's going to really be an amazing camera. The big difference here, of course, is going to be the resolution. We're talking about 61 megapixels with the A7R5 versus 33 with the Sony A7V. And just that one simple thing alone is such a major deal for landscape photography, and I would argue for every type of photography. In one of my older videos, I talked about the A7 III versus the A7R3 and kind of made a lot of these same points. The ability to crop, like even if you don't necessarily need the 61 megapixels, maybe you're not a pro, maybe you're not, needing to do these really huge giant prints. Even then, I still feel like having that extra resolution is awesome. Like I said, you can crop, and that's so big. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Try your best to get the cropping right in the field, zoom in, move your feet, all that stuff. I try to do that as much as possible. But if you have the ability to crop afterwards in a big way and still have a really high quality image, that is, again, another one of those kind of game-changing things. So having that 61 megapixels is awesome. So I'm still going to recommend for anybody doing a lot of different types of work that I would absolutely get the A7R5 even over the newer A7V. Of course, if budget's an issue, and I'm assuming they're going to be fairly similarly priced, actually. But if the A7V is cheaper, that's one thing. Of course, if you're doing a lot more sports and action, then in that case, I would say, the A7V is going to be better. I believe it's going to be around 15 frames per second. That's the numbers we're seeing right now. So more than most likely, it's going to be a little bit of a faster camera. Should still have all the same, autofocus, AI type stuff that the A7R5 has. So it should just be a really great all-around camera. Should also be a really excellent camera as a two-body system. Like right now, I use a Sony A7R5 with a Sony A1 II. My last video was actually talking about that and how I think that's pretty much the ultimate setup that you can get right now. High resolution plus the high speed stuff. If you threw in the mix, say, hey, let's have an A7R5 with the A7V, that's also going to just be an amazing two-body setup where you have a really lightweight, system that's going to be great for high speed plus for landscape photography. So depending on your budget, depending on your use case, I think the A7V is going to be amazing. I'm going to get one, fairly soon to shoot with it a little bit. But I would absolutely still recommend going with the A7R5 overall. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it to the end, I appreciate that. Please give me a like and subscribe. Thanks a lot. Bye.